So in hockey, every reaction has an opposite and equal reaction. Now, this guy was a great skater for Buffalo a number of years, almost helped him win the Stanley Cup in 1975, was part of that great French Connection power play with the Sabres, with Danny Gare, Martin Perreault, and Robert. But when he was traded to LA gave up a number one draft pick, and that draft pick turned out to be Phil Housley. You can imagine if the Kings in the early 80s would have had Phil Housley in their lineup, who knows what would have done with Dion and everybody else. Maybe the Gretzky trade wouldn't have occurred, or the machinations. So today we're talking about a player that we affectionately call King Kong for a reason. A big drink of water. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Jerry Korab. Now, Jerry Korab, possibly the best undrafted offensive defenseman of the modern era, born Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, 1948, September 15th, 6'3", 220 pounds, and every inch to man and every pound was dangerous. Now, he played in the NHL from 71 to 85, and he made a solid reputation for himself, especially in the 1970s, as a very physical defenseman. His size and movement gave him a distinct advantage in his own zone, and he possessed a hard shot and marked offensive skills. Now, he made his NHL debut with the Blackhawks in 1971, again undrafted. He was asked to keep the front of his zone net clear, mostly defensive side. He continued to play that same role for the next 2 seasons, while scoring 12 goals in 73 and helping Chicago reach the Stanley Cup Finals against Montreal in 71, when he lost in 7 games, and 73, when he lost in 6. Now, Korab's best years were spent on the blue line of the Sabres from 73 to 1980, where he blossomed into an effective defenseman on one of the best young teams in the league. He was a physical presence, very strong against Montreal, Toronto, and the rest of the what I call the Eastern Division teams, while hitting double digits in goals 4 times, helping the Sabres reach their first Stanley Cup Final in 75. He was also selected to play in the 75 and 76 All-Star team. Now, he was also a well-dressed man, because during this period he also established himself as the NHL's best-dressed player for 3 years running. You can find some print ads online of some of his great combinations of clothing. Now, he, beginning with his time with the Canucks during the 74 season, that's where it all started, where he became a fan of the designer and master tailor Paul Midichilo. Now, Korab was eventually traded to the LA Kings on March 10, 1980 for a first-round pick that Buffalo used a couple of seasons later to select the great offensive Phil Housley. In 83, he retired, but 2 months into the season, he was offered a chance to make a comeback with the Sabres. He would retire for good after playing 25 games with his former team in 1985. Now, Korab has owned and operated something called Korab Incorporated, a packaging service located in Bellwood, Illinois. Now, we're talking today about the importance of the IHL and the WHL to a player's career. He played in Port Huron in the IHL, 64 points, and 69 in Portland in the WHL. By the time he got to Chicago, again, that 73 season. Now, this is kind of bizarre, ladies and gentlemen. He had 27 points in the regular season, good totals. Didn't have a point in the playoffs, so I think that's why he ended up in Vancouver. Now, the trade to Vancouver was for, of all people, Jerry Korab. Gary Smith also went back. That was Dale Talon, and Dale Talon, considering a high draft pick just a couple of years before, it was quite amazing that deal would occur. I think Gary Smith and Korab were worth Dale Talon by himself, but Chicago wanted to get him. Now, when he ended up in Buffalo, it was for John Gould and Tracy Pratt, which actually played a huge part in that mid-1970s run, where they had a very strong team that took on Montreal in the 75 playoffs. Now, that deal for number 1 draft pick, at the time, the Kings weren't expecting to be the 6th worst team in the league in 1980, but by 1982, that's what happened, so you never know. But that early 1980s draft, a lot of great players. Now, the Sabres, for a lot of people, they believe his best season, and I tend to agree, was the 75 campaign. We had 56 points in 79 regular season games, despite getting 184 minutes in penalties, and 5 points in 16 playoff games, including 3 goals. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he was a big factor in the Sabres, what I call the big 5-year run between 75 and 1979, where he made the playoffs every year. Then he helped the Kings to 3 playoff appearances in the 80s, and made it back with the Sabres one more time in the playoffs in 84 and 85. And he did, again, have 2 small stints in Rochester. So final NHL totals, almost 1,000 games, 975 contests, 114 goals, 349 assists, for 555 points, and 1,629 minutes in penalties. All well deserved. Again, protecting all the players on the key players in Buffalo. Playoffs 8-18-26 in 93 games and 201 minutes in penalties. So almost 2,000 minutes in penalties, ladies and gentlemen. And again, the penalty-filled year of 1975. But his last season with Port Huron, he put up some 4 penalty minutes per game on average. And that's reputation preceded himself with St. Catharines in '68. But ladies and gentlemen, undrafted, I think the OHA rights that Chicago had there, definitely, I don't think they had to draft him. I think he was like completely signed, just like Bob Orr was at the time, because it is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Korab, I can tell you that 75 playoff against Montreal, scared the living hell of us, and that's why we lost. We could stop Danny Gare, couldn't stop Korab. The other game we could stop Korab, couldn't stop Danny Gare, couldn't stop Perreault, couldn't stop Brian Spencer. Couldn't get it past Crozier. So it was a weird 6-game series, because 3 and 4 at home for Montreal. They showed an opportunity to come back in the series, but we couldn't beat them in Buffalo. That's the key thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like our Buffalo Sabre Vintage podcast, let us know. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any memories of Jerry Korab, let us know. Thanks for listening. Bye.